It's 2026, a brand new year, which means it's time for brand new masteries. And considering that the Nintendo Wii is getting achievements this year, we have a lot of stuff to get excited for. But considering we haven't mastered a game in a while, let's master something simple in order to get back into the groove of mastering games before we head into the trenches and master the more difficult sets. And what better game to start with than the first game my parents ever bought for me. Stuart Little for the PlayStation 1 is a tie-in movie game based selectively on the second Stuart Little film. And this game is a collectathon similar to Mario 64, and out of all collectathons I've beaten and mastered over the years, this is on top of the list as being one of the easiest games of the genre, which makes it even more easier when we look at the RetroAchievements set, featuring 45 achievements to grab where we have a sort of checklist in order to get 100% in every level, which we can easily keep track of with the RetroAchievements website. And yeah, if you look at this set, you will notice that in order to master this game, you need to beat the game 100% in order to master it. So what I'm gonna do with this video is try to give a general guide of every level while we get all collectibles and go for 100%. So if you enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified on future masteries. But with that, I'm Jonathan Wolf, and I'm on a quest to prove that I'm good at video games by mastering retro games. And let's start 2026 by mastering an oldie, but also a goodie. Our adventure begins with Stuart waking up from a small nap as he makes his way through the bedroom. He checks out a note written by Margalo, where she mentions that the evil Falcon has forced her to steal jeweled rings from the citizens of New York, and now she wants to return them to their rightful owners and escape from the talons of the evil buzzard. At the end, she asks us to meet her in the backyard so that they can begin with their search, which leads into this game's tutorial, where we can learn about all the different moves that Stuart can perform in order to retrieve the rings with ease. And once we finish the tutorial, we will get our very first achievement, which is also a progression achievement, which means that the tutorial is required to actually beat the game. So after we reset the game, after the game literally crashed, you gotta love it, we skip the tutorial and head into the first level of the game, Downstairs. So this game features 6 platforming stages where you need to collect 6 jeweled rings in every single level. And similar to Toy Story 2's Pizza Planet tokens, these rings have the same objectives throughout the 6 different levels, with the exception of 2 of them which are minigame related that you need to beat and that will change depending on the stage. And besides those 2 unique rings, the other 4 are basically the same, which I will explain as we continue with the level. So starting off with the kitchen, we have these cat biscuits where we need to collect 60 of them in order to get one of the jeweled rings. However, in order to get 100% in the level, we need to collect all 80 of them throughout the entire stage, which are really not that hard to find, unlike something like specific notes in certain levels from Banjo-Kazooie, or trying to grab every single coin from a certain subset that may or may not be a thing we talk about in the future. And as we start scaling the kitchen, we come across a face block, as Margalo very kindly reminds us.
Excellent hunting, Stuart. You have found a face block.
And every level has 6 face blocks, and once you collect them all, you will be able to collect a jeweled ring for your hard work. As we make it to the highest point of the kitchen, we come across a red suitcase that can only be opened with a throwable object, and inside of it we can get an extra life. Not that it matters since this game is really easy.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device.
And at the end, we can ride a zipline that will take us to our second face block. And before we exit the kitchen, we have a mini game we can play in order to get a jeweled ring, where we need to collect these stars by leaning left and right or putting our hands in the air like we just don't care, so that we can restore the track and finish this 3-lap course. And if we manage to get all 3 laps done, we will be awarded a ring. By who, you may ask?
That's a good question.
Exiting the kitchen, we can go into the dining room, where we can crawl underneath these bookcases and collect more cat biscuits. And as we make it to the top of the table, we can climb the candle and collect our third face block. And once we grab it, we can catch a ride on this balloon and head to the top of the bookcases and collect a golden key, which will allow you to open a golden suitcase that will contain a jeweled ring. And once you collect the key, we will get our very first achievement of the level. Now, why didn't you get an achievement for opening the suitcase?
That's a good question.
Continuing with the dining room, we climb over to the shelf and collect our 4th face block, and we also encounter a blue suitcase, which contains ice cream cones, which will extend our life bar, which we can restore by destroying these green suitcases that contain ice creams that will restore our life. And once we get the remaining cat biscuits, we head over to the studio? Yeah, I'm gonna go with studio. Where we can climb this table and use the key on the golden suitcase in order to unlock the next ring. And by collecting our second ring in the level, we will unlock stage 2, which will give us another progression achievement. And once we open the box, we climb up the huge shelf, and at the top, we can head through the vent and collect the hidden ring. And just like certain level tokens from Toy Story 2, these rings are just in the open where you need to solve a platforming challenge. Now granted, the challenge itself may be not that hard, but that's besides the point. And as we head back into the studio, we can monkey bar across and collect the 5th face block. And once we acquire it, we take a moment and relax in the aquarium and collect the fishes that seem out of place. And now we move on to the final room of level 1, the living room, where we can collect enough cat biscuits to trade for a ring. And to do that, we need to find the red cat bowl, which we'll get to it later. And as we collect more cat biscuits, we head up through this chest and collect the last face block of the level, which will create a path to the next jeweled ring, and just like grabbing the key, getting all face blocks will give us an achievement. Going into the main table, we see an airplane, and here we have the next minigame, where we need to fly through some rings without crashing and before time runs out. But because you get extra time when flying through the ring, and the plane moves up and down by its own, you just need to move left or right in order to fly through the ring. And once you collect all stars, we will be awarded by mysterious forces another jeweled ring. And after doing some training for the inevitable Star Fox mastery, we head over to the couch and get on this vase and collect the clapperboard, which will unlock a compressed scene from the movie, which you can watch later in the gallery in the main menu. And once we collect it and get an achievement for collecting the clapperboard, we climb the face block stairs and collect the next ring. And once we finish things at the studio and the living room, we head back to the kitchen by taking this vent in the studio and collect the final cat biscuits of the level and get yet another achievement. And once we return to the kitchen, we find the cat bowl and convert our fish into a ring, which is the final ring of the level, which will give us an achievement for getting all rings, unlocking level 3, and completing the level 100%, as Margolo will mention if we manage to achieve full completion in a level. And because we're done, we now go to this white paw and visit our old pal Snowbell and head on to the next level. And now that we're done with level 1, we now understand the gameplay loop for the next 5 stages. And from this point, we're going to go on a faster pace so that this video doesn't become a full-fledged walkthrough, since I don't do this anymore, and after all, that's what the archives channel is for. So if you want to check my full playthrough, go check and subscribe to that channel to get notified on future full playthroughs and a little tease on what game I'm gonna work on next. Level 2 has us explore Central Park. Now, I haven't been to New York in a hot minute, but I can easily tell you that this looks nothing like Central Park. But despite that blatant lie, in this starting area we have this wasp, which is the most annoying enemy in the entire game. Primal aspects are nothing compared to these stupid bugs, mainly due to the fact that these guys are the only enemies that shoot projectiles at Stuart, but also in order to defeat them, the only way is by using throwable items, which trying to aim at them is not the easiest thing in the world. But once we dispose of this disease, we can collect our first face block, and once we collect it, we can head up this rake and hit this button on this lunchbox that will raise some sand platforms that will give you access to the second face block. Video game logic. You gotta love it, baby. Now in this starting area, we also have the golden suitcase, but since we don't have the key, we're just going to skip it for now. Heading up the steps, we come across a ship's wheel where we get sent to the middle of the goddamn ocean for our next minigame, where we need to complete a 4-lap track while collecting these clocks in order to increase our time so that we can win the race. And despite the fact that the turning of the boat is incredibly stiff to the point that you actually need to hold the button in order to do a decent turn, this race is overall not that bad. And if you get clocks every once in a while, you are never running out of time. And once we win the race, we get rewarded a jeweled ring for our boat driving skills. Returning to the park, we head to the right on this fork and head into a playground where we can get the clapperboard by jumping into the center of the tire. And as we make it to the top of this climbing section, we can zipline into this trash can and collect our third face block. And as we go inside the play, we have this slide where we need to collect 3 biscuits by weaving left and right, but because the slide physics are very wonky in this game, I decided to play it safe and take 2 trips throughout the slide. And once we get the snacks, we head down this hole and monkey bar our way to the golden key and haul ass back to the beginning and collect our next ring by opening the golden suitcase. Going back to the junction, we now head left and go through this upper section and get the 4th face block. Heading down into the main path, we climb this bench while getting more biscuits and head up this kite rope in order to get on the tree branch and collect the 5th face block, but also ride the zip line and collect collect the secret ring of the level, as well as getting all biscuits for the ring. So once we get the not so hidden ring, we head back to the junction and deposit the treats for the next ring, which will unlock level 4, giving us another achievement. Going back to the bench, we head into the final area of level 2, where we have some planters where we can collect the remaining cat biscuits as well as the final face block, and we also have our second minigame, where we need to race this cricket by going through these checkpoints and making sure we come out first. This race may seem scary, mainly because going up the steps will slow you down because of the jump, but thankfully once you finish climbing, you can just sprint past the cricket and win no problem. And as a bonus, the cricket doesn't rubber band and he's relatively slow. Thank God for that, because the last thing I want is to have terrible war flashbacks to Mario Kart 64. Once we win the race, we will collect another ring. And for our final ring, we climb the face blocks and reach the top of the sundial and get the final ring of Central Park, putting us at 100% of level 2. Level 3 returns us to the little home as we explore the upstairs section of the house. And right off the bat, we can collect our first ring, as we have another track minigame similar to level 1, where we need to collect stars in order to restore the track. And this version is a bit more difficult, mainly due to the strict amount of stars you need to collect in order to proceed. But even then, this minigame is not hard. And once we collect our first ring, we head into the room to the right and enter the children's room, where we climb this drawer and take a balloon ride for the first face block. And as we explore the room while getting more cat treats, we take another balloon trip and press a button that will open another drawer that will lead us to interesting things. And before we head up the drawer, we have the second minigame where we need to shoot at different targets to get a total of 500 points, while shooting some bugs that will try to take points from us. I will say that these are the more difficult minigames, mainly due to the stiff reticle, especially if you use the analog stick, because my god, this thing goes all over the place. But as long as you use the D-pad for aiming, this one is really not that hard. And once we get a new record, we get another ring, and now we scale the drawer and collect the second face block. And as we make it to the top, we go through this vent and arrive at the bathroom, where we can zip line across the bathtub while avoiding some towels in order to collect the third face block. Heading down, we clean up the top and later take a dive and attempt to collect the clapperboard, because what the heck is a hitbox? And once we collect it, we try to get as much as we can, since the golden suitcase is in the bathroom. But at least we can collect the fourth face block, so at least there's a silver lining. You get that? Because that's a running theme in the movie. Exiting the bathroom for now, we head into the final room, which is Stuart's and George's room, which we had a glimpse of during the opening cutscene. And as we explore our room, we get enough cat biscuits for the ring, as well as the key for the suitcase. And as we make our way to the bottom bed, we collect the fifth face block and take a balloon ride for an extra life. Heading up the ladder, we zip line to the other side and take a balloon ride to the secret ring. And once we get the remaining treat I missed getting once I enter the room, we head back up and jump up out of the zip line in order to land on Stuart's bed, so that we can collect the remaining biscuits as well as the final face block. And as we head back into the bathroom, we deliver the fishes to the bowl and get our next ring, which will unlock level 5 and of course give us another achievement. And once we unlock the golden suitcase, we get a more elaborated face block path, as we need to time our jumps and get on top of the grandfather clock and get the final ring upstairs and reach 100% in level 3. And head into the second half of the game, since the final level is just the boss stage, which means we only have 3 more platforming stages to go. In level 4, we head into the sewers, where we have this green goo that will basically kill us in huge quotation marks. Now, the game counts falling into the goo as a sort of death, since after Margalo saves you, you will be sent back to the last checkpoint you collected, and also your throwable items will reset back to 10. However, if you check your life counter, it will stay the exact same, which means that by falling into the green goo, you will die, but also you will not die. So in other words, and to make it more clear, falling into the goo will not count as a death if I somehow die during this mastery.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
So with that established, we head to the right from the start and crawl through this vent and annihilate the spawn from hell and collect the golden key. Heading back, we head down and head through this blue door and into the first room, where we have some cat treats, a demonic sounding snail that used to creep me out as a kid, as well as 2 face blocks we can get by swimming in this pool. Yeah, I'm gonna go with pool. And by climbing through these pipes. And once we're done, we head back to the skateboard to begin the first minigame and the last type of minigame of the game, as you need to get gnarly and grab all 25 stars in the skating course before time runs out. This minigame is not hard whatsoever, because the course is small, all stars are in view and don't have bad draw distance, and the camera is good at tracking Stuart. My only gripe is that the jump and turning is very off. It almost feels like classic Castlevania with their fixed jumps, which, boy, that's gonna be a fun series when I eventually get to it. But with the exception of the stars that are in the air, jumping and turning is not necessary in order to finish this minigame. But in the meantime, let's get the last stars and collect our first ring of the level. And once we prove that we may have a chance at Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, we head back up and through this vent and end up at the other side of the starting area, where we can collect the ring inside the golden suitcase, and as we return to the start, we collect the third face block and head down deeper through the vent after the blue door and enter an isolated room where we can get the fourth face block by swimming through this infected water. And as we make it to the top of the room by timing our jumps with these pistons and try to grab some monkey bars, once we reach the top we can collect the clapperboard and continue down into the final room of this area, where we have some machines we have to platform around with the secret ring awaiting us at the end. And as we make it to the ring, we will collect enough cat biscuits for Monty, which we can deliver back at the start and collect the next ring and unlock level 6 and the final collecting level of the game. And as we go back to start, we go to the left and the final section of the sewers, where we can climb this pole and jump across the lights to get the fifth face block. And after grabbing it, we arrive at some sort of generator room, which is honestly the best room in the level, where we need to climb and avoid these electrical surges so that we can head into the center and collect the final face block. Which, I gotta say right now, platforming challenges like this should be more often in these types of easy collectathons. And as we make it to the face block area, we take a dive on the unsanitary water and collect the final cat treats, and dry out by racing this bug in a similar way to the cricket in level 2. This race is more involved as you need to jump over the goo and make it through the machine room by taking the zip line and also try not to step on the death water. Or I'm sorry, the radioactive water since it glows. But after getting stuck because of the camera screwing around with me, we managed to win first try and get the next ring. And as we make our way through the face blocks, we collect the final jeweled ring of level 4 and achieve 100% completion in the level. Level 5 has us running around some back alleys as we jump across some toxic waste in order to climb some tubes and collect the first face block. And as we get some weird jumps off the poles, we do some parkour on this plank in order to collect the second face block. And we can even get the third one by jumping to this window and claim the next block with our face. And after getting 3 face blocks in record time, we tackle the first minigame, where we have another shooting minigame where we have faster objects and more aggressive bugs that spawn more often. But just like the previous one, if you prioritize the bugs as they spawn, this one is not that hard. Although I will give this minigame the title of hardest minigame of the game, mainly because the more frequent bugs may actually catch you off guard if you suffer from tunnel vision. But after clearing it and collecting the first ring, we make it to the other side of these pile of boxes and head into the next minigame, where we have another race similar to the boat in level 2, this time featuring Stuart's car, which Margolo puts it that it's very dangerous to go on foot and you need the car, which, okay, I guess you cannot do a sprinting race unless it's against something, but okay, sure. Video game logic. Now compared to level 2, this course is longer and I believe it has less time extenders than the last one, but if you still manage to get one every once in a while, this race is also very easy. And after winning the race, we will be awarded with our second ring. Once we win another race, we climb some wood and zipline to our fourth face block. And after collecting the block and some cat treats over toxic waste, we head through the fence where we can crawl underneath the dumpster and claim the clapperboard. And then we can get on top of the dumpster and take out a wasp so that we can climb this pipe and activate a button that will open a grate that will give us access to the secret ring of the level. And as we climb another pile of boxes, we zip line while collecting the 60th cat biscuit as well as face block numero 5, which coincidentally puts us back at the start where we can deliver the cat treats and get yet another ring for our constant back and forward throughout these levels. And once we collect the ring, we head backwards through this hole and do some intense platforming for the final face block as well as the golden key. After opening the case, we head inside this truck in order to collect the final ring as well as the final cat treats, giving us 100% completion for this level. And by getting the last ring, we will unlock Falcon Boss, which is the final boss of the game, which we have to do in order to finish the game. But before we do that, we have one more level to beat. The final platforming level has us explore a garbage barge, which is by far the hardest level in the game, filled with a lot of hazards, more spawns from hell, and the trickiest platforming of the game. Starting off, we climb this pole and zip line to the top of the garbage pile in order to collect the first face block. As we slide down while collecting cat treats, that definitely gave me PTSD to certain Mario 64 ROM hacks just because of the annoyance of Mario sliding like a dumbass. We take a ride on our broken plane as we fly through the rings while trying to avoid crashing into a wall. Similar to the plane minigame from level 1, this one is very simple, although the rings on these buoys can be tricky to go through in fear of bad hitboxes. But besides that, this one is very easy and we can get our first ring on the first try. After graduating in flight school, we head through this crawl space and avoid some steam in order to collect the final clapperboard of the game. And after we make it back, we enter the barge and collect some cat treats while we monkey bar our way to the other side of this lava pool with the second face block of the level. And once we collect it, we go deeper into the ship and enter a sort of engine room where we platform around the room, jumping over lava and avoiding steam with the final secret ring awaiting us at the end after a nice warm balloon ride. And as we head down, we jump over more steam and collect the third face block and fly our way out of this hellhole into the back of the ship. In this open area, we have two more face blocks, one of them being right next to the face block area, while the other is on top of a boat where we have some monkey bars and bullshit enemy respawns as we get comboed by stupid wasp we killed 5 seconds ago. Seriously game, I'm playing a collectathon, not a Mega Man game. But hey, at least we have enough biscuits to trade for another ring, so silver lining, sure, whatever, movie reference, who cares. Now we also have the second minigame here, but before tackling that, we head into the bridge of the barge and get the cat treat ring, as well as pulling off an impressive double jump in order to get the last face block and the final face block of the game. And here we can also do some balloon platforming with a very awkward camera over to the golden key and open the last golden suitcase of the game, as well as collecting the final cat biscuits of the level. Heading back to the back, we die multiple times by being hasty at block platforming with steam, only to collect the ring and die to skip more platforming because I am lazy and I don't care. But now we have the final minigame of the level and also the final minigame of the game, where we need to once again get gnarly and collect some stars with a skateboard. This time on an original course not seen throughout the main level. So that's impressive. I actually give you props to that game. And just like the last one, this one is very simple, with the difference that the course can be very tricky to go through, and to the point that this course also has a death pit that will make you fail automatically. Thanks a lot, game. But with enough care, we can prove that we may be ready to master the Tony Hawk games, except not really because I suck at those games. And we can collect the final ring of the game and complete the last collectathon level 100%. So here we are. We have the final level of the game, Falcon Boss, where we need to defeat Falcon and stop his evil reign of terror. Starting this level, we are chasing Falcon on our plane while he's chasing down Margalo. And for this fight, we need to collect these batteries to build up a meter in order to ram Falcon with our plane. And you basically need to repeat this method about 5 more times in order to defeat this bird brain. Now you also want to make sure you avoid the obstacles in your path as you collect energy, since by crashing into anything will kill you immediately. And despite the fact that I managed to die during my original playthrough back in 2024, there is just no way in any possible version of hell that it would happen again during this mastery. No, that's definitely never gonna happen, since this is Stuart Little 2, guys. Who the hell dies easily learning the... Oh my god. You cannot be serious. I fucking died on the final boss again. Only I can pull stuff. Only I can pull this crap, you know? Only I can do this. Oh my god. So stupid. So fucking stupid. Oh my god. I can't believe I died on fucking Stuart Little 2. Get out of here, you stupid. Just die, you stupid Falcon. And there we go. Time. That mastery felt not... That mastery felt empty. Oh my god! In terms of quality, this game gets the default 5 out of 10. The reason I say default is because the only requirement to master this game is just going for 100%. If we had challenge achievements for certain minigames, like getting all stars in the racetrack minigames, or getting all stars in the skateboard before a certain time, or completing the shooting games without losing points or missing a target, then I would have given it a higher score. But because it does the bare minimum in terms of achievements, I will give it a 5. That said, if the set only had achievements on unlocking every level and get 100% on all stages, without the needing of getting the keys, the treats, and the phase blocks, I would have given it a score lower than a 5. So the fact that we got additional achievements for every level, to the point that it presents as a sort of checklist in certain aspects, I find it completely fine, and therefore I'm giving it the default 5. And as for difficulty, even though I took a lot of unnecessary damage during stages and that happened, this game is very easy, and I will give it a 2 out of 10. If the green goo in sewers and the lava in garbage barge were instant death, I would have raised the score to a 3 just because we have more sense of danger. But because hazards are a non-entity and the enemies are incredibly easy to deal with, except for these stupid wasps, the difficulty of this game is very basic, even if you're going for full 100%. But despite the fact that we have an average set for an easy game, this is a very good introduction for someone who wants to get into RetroAchievements, since this set doesn't have the ridiculous achievements we've been getting in the past and will achieve in the future. So because of that, I'll give the fun a 7 out of 10. And as for the hardest achievement of the set, because of the annoying wasps and the bigger risk of dying, I'll give 100% Garbage Barge the award for the hardest achievement in Stuart Little 2. Despite the fact that this game is very simplistic, for being the very first video game my parents bought for me, I will say that it was a good choice. Not that I was able to choose what games I wanted back then, but whatever. And this is a great game, not only as an introduction to 3D collectathons, but also a great introduction to RetroAchievements. Mainly because you only need to get 100% to master the game. And if you like mastering the set and want something more challenging, may the RetroAchieving gods have mercy on your soul, because you will be entering a world of satisfaction and hate at the same time. Big thanks to Bruno Kiko for making this set, and now that we're back on the RetroAchievement hype train, I think my D-Rust is over and I can finally move on to a more challenging set. I say that considering I fucking died on the final boss, but who fucking cares? Thanks for watching the very first RetroAchievement Mastery video of 2026. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more RetroAchievement Masteries, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified on future Masteries. For our next game, we dive into another 3D collectathon with the most changed achievement set I've experienced in all of my RetroAchievement life. And the game in question is Super Mario 64 for the Game Boy. And I say changed because this set has very polarizing achievements to the point that they were either removed or moved to subsets, which we will be covering one of these subsets, since without it you're basically missing the true experience on mastering Super Mario 64. Although if you don't want to master the subset, then don't do it. I'm not your mom. But with that said, thank you all for watching this episode of RetroAchievements Masteries. I'm Jonathan Wolf, and I will see you all in my next RetroAchievement Mastery. I'll see you then, Retro Achievers, and take it easy.